Hello soulmate, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's tutorial, we're going to be learning how to make this cropped corset that has a stylish hem design and a strip neck design. Okay, so if you're interested, join me while we get started. So on a pattern paper, I've gone ahead to draw the starting line. As you can see, I also went ahead to mark the shoulder to bust, the shoulder to underbust, shoulder to waist, and the shoulder to hip. So I'm just going to go ahead and place my tape measure to show you to see. I mark my shoulder to bust, underbust, waist, and then the full length of this dress. I didn't mark the shoulder to hip, it's the full length, and the full length is just 6 inches below the waistline. So I'm going to go ahead and label them bust, underbust, waist, and then full length. Okay, so after doing this, I'm going to come to the top, that is the shoulder line, that is the starting line as well. Okay, so I'm going to mark the shoulder measurement divided by 2, of which mine gave me 7 inches, and I marked it there. I came down from that point by 1 inch, and from the 1 inch there, I came down from that 1 inch and I marked 7 inches, which is the armhole depth. Of course, that point becomes my chest line, and I'm going to connect the lines together from the point where I marked the 7 inches to where I came down by 1 inch, and I'm going to draw a straight line there and I'm going to label it my chest line. So the armhole depth is gotten by dividing your bust circumference by 6 and adding 1.5. I'm working with a bust circumference of 33 inches. Okay, so now I'm going to try to mark the neck width and neck depth of 3 by 3 inches, and then I connected the 3 inches width on the shoulder line to the 1 inch I came down from the shoulder area to get my shoulder slope, and after that I used my curve to connect the neck together, that is the neck width and depth. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting the armhole curve, and to get that we're going to divide this armhole depth, which is 7 inches, into 2, and what I have there is just 3.5. I'm going to come from that center by half of an inch, and I'm going to be marking the bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. After marking it, I'm going to connect them together with my armhole curve like this. So by doing this, we are going to be getting our armhole measurement, or you can call it your arm's eye. So this is it. So it's as simple as this. After that, I'm just going to go ahead and take my bust span measurement, which is also known as your nipple to nipple measurement, divide it by 2, and I'm going to mark it on the bust line down to the full length of this dress. And after marking it there, I'm going to connect it together. So I'm working with a bust span of 3.5, which is nipple to nipple of 7 inches divided by 2 is giving me 3.5, and that is what I'm working with. So after connecting this line together, I'm going to come towards the underbust area, the line of the underbust, and I'm going to be marking 1 inch on both sides of the bust span line. Okay, this is because I'm trying to take a dart there, which is going to serve as the underbust tightening. So I'm going to connect that 1 inch down to the full length. As you can see, I'm connecting it on both sides, okay, because I took that 1 inch from the underbust to the full length. Okay, so soulmates, I'm going to come down from the bust line by 0.75. From that bust line, okay, I came down by 0.75, and I'm going to be connecting that 0.75 to the underbust tightening lines on both sides with a curve like this. Okay, so this is because I'm trying to avoid any sharp edges. Okay, I'm trying to avoid sharp edges. That's why I came down by 0.75. Okay, so soulmates, so now I'm going to impute the body measurements, that is the circumference, body circumference. So I already have my bust circumference divided by 4 marked on the chest line, so I'm going to come to the underbust and divide the underbust circumference by 4. Okay, so I'm working with a underbust circumference of 28 inches. I'll mark it there, and I'm going to take that dart of 2 inches there and add it. Okay, as you can see, I marked the waist circumference divided by 4 and I added the 2 inches dart allowance. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm adding the 2 inches dart allowance after marking the circumference divided by 4. Then I'm going to be connecting them with broken lines. Okay, these broken lines are called temporary lines. Okay, I call them temporary lines because they are not the actual measurement you are going to be using. I'm just going to be marking them for now, or probably using them for a guide. So I'm just going to mark that temporary lines first because it's going to serve as a guide for us. Okay, so I'm just using my marker to make it very visible for us to see. Okay, so soulmate, I'm going to mark the bust dart, which is 1.5 inches. How did I get that? Shoulder to waist in front minus the shoulder to waist at the back. The front is 16 inches, the back is 14.5, and I have 1.5, which I'm marking, and I'm connecting it to the bust span line at the bust on the bust line, as you can see. So I indicated it because I indicated it by crossing it to show that we're taking it out. So now I'm going to come to that bust line and mark half of an inch. This is me trying to get our bust bridge. Okay, I marked half of an inch on that bust line, and then I'm going to start from that half of an inch to mark my bust pan measurements. Okay, before I do that, I'm going to connect a curve, okay, for the cup. So I'm going to place my curve in a way that it's going to start from that half of an inch, which I'm going to be using for the bust bridge on the bust line, and it's going to meet the under bust line just like this. Okay, as you can see, I've gone ahead to do that. So now that place is okay. We are going to move to the other side. For us to do this, I'm going to have to take my bust pan measurement, but after taking the bust bridge of half of an inch, what is left is 3 inches. So I went ahead to mark that 3.5 and added half of an inch again. That is to cover up for the bust bridge that we took. Okay, so if you're a plus size, I would advise that you add 0.75 and not just 0.5. Okay, so now I slitted the paper open because I want to close the bust dart and I don't want it to give me issues. So I had to cut the paper to make it easy for me to close the bust dart. So now, as you can see, I'm taking my time to close the bust dart so that I can be able to draw the cup for the other side. Okay, so after closing it well, I'm just going to use my tape to secure it so that I can work on it. So now that I've done that, I'm going to take my tape measure again, and from that center bust line I marked the 3.5 and added half of an inch, so it's just 4 inches there. That point where I marked the 4 inches, I'm going to connect it to the under bust line at the other side. Okay, so ensure you place your curve well before you do this. Okay, so after connecting them together, I'm going to open up the bust dart. Okay, so after opening up the bust dart, I realized that the marks are no longer showing, so I just went ahead to connect it like this. Okay, so now I can go ahead and open up my bust darts just like this. So after doing this, I'm going to be working at the upper part for us to get the complete curve. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take the midpoint of that shoulder. So I'm going to place my tape measure like this and divide it into 2, and then I'm going to mark the center and connect it to the bust pan line at the bust point where we marked that bust pan. Okay, so you can see what I did. I just went ahead to connect it together. So now that I've connected it together, I'm going to come to the chest line by come up by 1 inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw broken temporary lines there. This is going to help serve as a guide for us. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and draw the lines, and after drawing the lines, I'm going to take a dart there. Okay, so on that straight line we drew from the shoulder, I'm going to mark 0.75 on both sides, and after doing that, I'm going to use my ruler to connect it to meet that same bust pan on the bust line. Okay, so just go ahead and connect it together like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to take the measurement of those lines. Okay, because it's a bit slanted, so it's I think it's not going to be equal. So the first line is giving me 2.75, and when I measure the second one, it's giving me 2.5. So I just place the 2.75 at the bust point, and I mark the point where the line is shorting from. So I had to mark it there and connect it together. I hope you understand what I mean. So now from that bust bridge line that we marked, I came up by 1 inch. The bust bridge we mark on the bust point, I came up by 1 inch, as you can see, and that is where our bust bridge is going to be starting from. So from that point, I'm going to connect it to the first dart tightening that we have at the over bust. So I'm going to be connecting it with a curve like this. This is going to help us get our cup pieces on the side towards the center front. Okay, so this area where we came out by 1 inch from that bust line is going to serve as the bust bridge now, and I'm going to mark it like this so that we can tell when cutting it. So now I'm going to come to the other side rather, and I'm going to connect it with my curve. So I'm just going to extend that line to the chest line. You can actually come down by 0.5, or you can connect it to the chest line. Whatever works for you is fine. Then you're going to use your curve to connect it like this. So at this point, we have gotten our two-piece cup, and I'm just extending it to the chest line. Okay, that is going to be where the armhole is going to sit on. So at this point, I'm going to take the dart that we have on that chest line. After making that tightening, what I have there is about 0.75, and I'm going to be adding it on the chest line at the side. So after adding it, now I'm going to take my ruler and connect them well. I'll connect it to the under bust, and then this time I'm going to be making use of permanent lines. Okay, because this is the actual measurement now. So I'm going to go ahead and connect it together, as you can see. So from the waist to the full length, I'm going to be using the curved part of my ruler to do this. okay. Okay, soulmate, so as you can see, I'm trying to blend the sharp edges, so I'm just placing my curve ruler this way to ensure that I blend it in. You should do that if you have sharp edges. As you can see, we are already done with the drafting. We're just going to get the hem design at the lower part. Okay, what I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to come down to the hemline, okay, and I'm going to extend it to the top, like from the hemline I'm going to come up by 1.5, as you can see, and I'm going to connect it to meet that first dot line towards the side, just like I'm doing right now. I'm going to connect it together. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Just watch what I'm doing and you will get it right. So after connecting it there, from this other part, okay, I'm going to come towards the center front from the waist, and I'm going to come down with about 2.5 inches, and I'm going to mark it there. And then what I'll do is I'm going to take my curve and connect it in a way that is going to give me that design that I want there. Just take your time to place your curve well and connect it together. Okay, after that you connect it like this. Okay, so after connecting this curve, I realized that it's not giving me the exact design that is on that on the image. So what I did was to get it was that I came from that point, I came in by 1 inch like this, and I'm going to use my tape measure, sorry, my marker rather, to connect it to that 1 inch before extending it to the center front like this. Okay, so at this point now it's going to give me that design, because when the paper is on, when your pattern is on the fold and you open it, it's going to have that straight design at the center area. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. Just take your time to cut it and ensure you close your bust dart while cutting it. Okay, so at this point, if you find this tutorial very helpful, do not forget to give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel and share our video. Okay, so we also have a beginner class for beginners who want to learn pattern drafting, how to cut and sew, basics of pattern drafting. Our class is ongoing in May and it costs just 5,000 naira. If you're interested, please send a message to the number displayed on the screen. Okay, the class is very detailed and very educative. If you're interested, please let us know. So after cutting it now, you can see what we have here. I'm just going to go ahead and label it. So this part where we have the cup, because you can see, once you've closed your bust dart, you're going to have that side like that. You're just going to indicate arrows like this to show where they will be joining and the areas where it's going to, like, indicating the hem area. Okay, so when I to label center front and side front, so I'll just keep this aside and work on the back piece. Okay, so now this is the back piece of the dress, of the pattern rather. I just went ahead to start from the chest line because we're not going to be using the upper part, so I just want to start from the chest line. I just placed my tape measure from that chest line by 8 inches. Then I went ahead to mark my bust point, waist measurement and full length. As you can see, the waist measurement is 14.5 and I marked 6 inches below it, just like we did for the front. Okay, so you should take note of that. So to ensure that it's accurate, just check your measurement from the waist to the full length of the front piece, and I've confirmed it to be 6 inches, so we are right. So now at this point, what you're going to do now is to mark your bust span measurement divided by 2, and I'm going to go ahead and mark it from the full length to the chest line. Okay, after marking that, like I said, I'm using 3.5 inches. Okay, 7 inches divided by 2 is 3.5. After marking it, I connected it with a straight line. Okay, so after doing that, as you can see, after doing that, we're going to go ahead to impute our dart. But before marking the dart, I'm going to come to the waistline from the center and mark half of an inch. This is because we're trying to avoid zipper bulge. Okay, so I don't know how the back piece of this dress is. I haven't seen the back piece, I was not able to get it, but I will just show us how you can arrive at the back piece using zipper or lacing. So as you can see, I went ahead to connect that point towards the full length and towards the chest line at the top, and on the waistline for the dart, I marked half of an inch on both sides. If you're plus size, use 0.75. So I came down from the waistline by 5 inches and I marked it there, and from the chest line on that line I came down by 1 inch. So now I'm going to connect these points to meet the waist half of an inch that I marked there, just like this. Okay, I hope you understand what I'm doing. Just follow what I'm doing and you will get it right. So because I was not able to get the back piece of this dress, I can't really tell what the back looks like, but you can actually use a zipper or you can use a lacing bars. for the corset, it's going to work well. So what we are doing now is just going to illustrate how it's going to be if you're working with a zipper or a lacing, that is a corset back that has lacing. Okay, so I'm marking the body measurement, dividing them by 4. So for the waist area, you can see where I started from. I started from that 0.5 inch I came in, and I marked it and added 1 inch on that waistline for the that allowance. Okay, so then for the full length, I just went ahead to mark the hip measurement divided by 4 and the chest line, the bust measurement divided by 4, and I'm connecting them together like that. So after connecting them, this is obviously what we are going to have. Okay, so with this, you can get your zipper, you can get your lacing, but what we are going to do is I'm going to cut it out first. Okay, I'm going to cut it out so that we can, see how it's going to be. But before I actually cut this out, I just want to come down from that center front chest line by half of an inch. Okay, I'm going to come down by half of an inch. That is especially for those that want to work with a lacing. You can just do this to give it a slant design at that back, so it relaxes there. Then I went ahead to connect it to meet the chest line at the side. Okay, so if you're working with a lacing bar, you can see what I'm doing. I'm marking about 1.5 inches from the center back down from the chest line to the hip line. So if you want to use 2 inches, 2.5, depending on how open you want your back to be and how snatched you want it to be. So I'm going to use these circles to indicate these areas that, okay, this is where the lacing bars are going to be. As you can see, I've gone ahead to show you how you can use your lacing bars or your zipper. So you can just decide to close your dart on your pattern like that, or you decide to separate it and open it up. So I'll just go ahead and cut it out so that I can show you what I'm talking about. So if you find this tutorial helpful, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel. If you have any question, please leave it in the comment section. Okay, so I'm trying to get the hem design. I'm going to come up by 1.5 rather from the hem, like I did for the front, towards the side area, and I connected it to meet the dart line. Okay, so after that, I'm going to go ahead and cut it out because of course we're not going to be using that part anymore. Then after cutting it out, I'll also go ahead and cut this part where we have 0.5 where I marked for the zipper bulge area. So if you're using a zipper to achieve this and you want to impute your dart on the fabric directly, you are good to go. After cutting this out, just go ahead and add your seam allowance and zipper allowance and you're good to go. But if you don't want to add your dart on the fabric like that, you can go ahead and slash it open just like I'm doing right now. Just go ahead, take your time and slash it open into 2, so that when you have slashed it open and removed your dart, you can go ahead and place it on your fabric and add allowance around it, about half of an inch, which you'll be using to join both sides together. Okay, I believe you should understand what I'm saying. Okay, so once you slash it open, you're going to be having this. So if you're using a zipper, you are good to go like this. But if you're not using a zipper, you want to use your lacing bar, that point where you mark 1.5 inches all round to the hem, you're just going to go ahead and cut it out like I'm doing. Okay, you're just going to go ahead and cut it out because you're not going to be using that part anymore. So it depends on what you're working with. Okay, so this is now going to be what you're going to be using. This is now going to be your center back and your side back. At this point, we're actually done with this tutorial. If you find this tutorial very helpful, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel. And if you're interested in our online class, please ensure to send us a message on the WhatsApp number displayed on the screen and you're good to go. Okay, so do not forget to label your patterns. Do not forget to label them very well and ensure that you close your bust dart before cutting. Okay, so at this point, you're actually done. If you have any question, please leave it in the comment section. Thank you for watching. See you guys in my next video.